Good morning.
Oh, look, I can hear y'all today and I have internet. Isn't that exciting?
Woohoo! Progress.
Yes, life is good.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I'm grateful that y'all didn't see my crazy yesterday as I was logging out. I may or may have not, shouted some foul language at my computer because I love, like, seriously, as y'all know, like, I mean, freaking been doing this for 3 years now and absolutely love these. So whenever it doesn't go my way, I get a little bratty. So I ask for your forgiveness, even though none of y'all saw my little meltdown and be like, just screaming and shouting.
We love you, Stephen. There's no reason to apologize. We know that it was out of your control. So.
Oh, well,
yeah, my laptop was melting.
Yeah, I know. I get it. So, all right. So for at
It's
least
all good.
Okay. Thank y'all. Well, for
It's
today,
your own
I
family.
wanted to incorporate some obviously kind of pick up from what we were talking about yesterday, which was a pickup technically from Tuesday, in regards to talking about the 6 human needs, and this is using the Tony Robbins version. So I'm going to only touch for a brief moment on this because the thing that I really want to dig into is at least what are going to be what I've identified as the top 5 productivity killers in this industry. Okay. So this is something that just through the experience of working with top agents, working with top teams, everything like that, I took a moment yesterday. So I did do something productive after yelling and screaming at my computer. I took some time to kind of look back at all of my notes from all the coaching sessions and being like, wow, there are some themes here. So I definitely want to share that with y'all because the more awareness that you have around it, the more capable you're going to be of ensuring that you don't fall into these different productivity killer traps. Okay. So that being said, let's at least touch on what we were supposed to talk about yesterday, which was the human needs. And so just to kind of recap and refresh everybody's memory, is that when we're looking at least the Tony Robbins version of the 6 human needs or Maslow's hierarchy of needs, whichever one you favor, essentially the bottom line that you get to look at is that if a behavior fulfills 3 or more of those basic human needs, it becomes habitual and it becomes addictive, right? So the example that I used beforehand was my rocky relationship, I guess, or friendship with Alicia, right, in the office. And now we couldn't be better because of communication, but beforehand, because I was fulfilling my needs for, again, variety, contribution was really what it came down to, and significance. Now, the challenge with that is that because I'm focusing on those 3 things, I was going about things in my own way, right? I would be sporadic, hence the need for my variety. That sporadicness, all right, the variety was fulfilled or executed because of my need for contribution, right? Whenever someone is in need, whenever, someone is like, oh, well, this is happening today. I want to be able to address it right there and then. This is the reason why that Scripps is so varied, because it's a human need that I have, right? So stay along for the ride. But again, it's something that I'm kind of feeling my passion in that. And then the need for significance is my desire to make a difference. Call it selfish, call it whatever you will. But if you think of it, doing teaching and coaching, it fulfills all of those 3 things. Now, unfortunately, the need for variety for me worked against one of Alicia's top human needs, right? Which was connection and love. It's not that I'm not connected. It's not that I don't love y'all. It's just that my habitual behavior of the variety and the sporadicness is because I'm thinking, no, this is how I contribute. This is how I remain significant in people's lives and people's businesses, right? Whereas hers is biggest on connection and love. So again, the more awareness that you have about the needs that you're fulfilling in your world, the more cognizant you'll be able to be of how you interact with others. And more importantly, now that I know what Alicia's main thing is, connection, I make a deliberate effort to go out of what I would normally do and reach out, right? That's the reason why that it's kind of like it's a blind spot for me. It's not that I neglect it. It's just a blind spot. It's just a blind spot because, again, the human needs that I'm fulfilling, contribution, significance, and variety. So I wanted to see if anybody, because we are YouTube live, keep in mind. So I want to, does anybody want to kind of share, and then we'll step into the 5 productivity killers. Does anybody want to share like what they've identified for themselves? Kareen?
So I'm being very vulnerable here because obviously we're on YouTube and everything, but okay. So mine actually were, interestingly enough, they were yours in significance and contribution, but I want certainty. So that's the opposite of what you want, which I think reflects itself, expresses itself as, there are no guarantees in anything.
Right.
Yet I still seek those guarantees, and I don't act many times because I'm expecting a guarantee. I'm expecting to get some reassurance that what I'm doing is going to produce the results that I want. And that prohibits me, it inhibits me from doing, from action. And so that's not working towards my, that's not helping me. And I recognize that.
Yeah.
And this was really interesting to see. And it was interesting to see how you expressed how yours come through, your significance and contribution, because that's exactly what I feel I seek from those, from the significance and contribution. Yet it's funny because without the certainty, I'm not doing, so I'm not being significant and I'm not contributing.
Well, and let's just be honest, and Kareen, because of that, does that affect your perception of your fulfillment in what you're doing?
Absolutely. It beats up my self-esteem. I'm going, well, I'm a loser. I'm not doing anything that I want to do, that I feel, driven to do. Yeah.
It's, and thank you for being vulnerable on that, Kareen, because I mean, in all honesty, what you identified, at least what you're feeling vulnerable enough to share, is ironically the main reason why that there's such a high, I would say, failure rate in this industry, is purely because people are, you hear of a technique, you hear of something on the big stage from me, from any of our other top producers, and we're like, oh, let's go do that, without double checking and cross-referencing that activity against what your human needs are, right? I don't like to door knock. I don't know what that goes for, but to me it's boring because I know that, okay, here's this. Whereas on the phone, that gives me my variety, right? The uncertainty, which I seem to thrive in, right? It's kind of like, oh, okay, pick up the phone. I don't know if this person's going to yell at me or they want to set a listing appointment immediately. I've had it all, and so that's something to kind of be cognizant of, where other people, case in point, Kareen, just because you were the one to be vulnerable, is that may work against you. And if you were to say, okay, well, my coach says that I need to cold call, I need to do this, and it's not fulfilling one of your basic human needs, it's going to create that dissonance that we've talked about before, that incongruency between what you want to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish it. When you start beating down on yourself, you're not able to live your fulfillment, right? You're not able to fulfill the other needs because one is really absent. Absolutely. So the only reason why I wanted to touch on that is because a lot of times, and this makes me sound very cold, but it is what it is. People that have an insecurity, I've got a million of them, right? People that see what they want to do and what they're doing currently, knowing what they should do, right? Hence the Gary's, the one thing, right? What's the one thing that you could be doing such by doing everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? What's the number one answer to get more business? There's only one. What is it?
Talk to people.
Consistency.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, it's talking to people. Lead generation, right? This is no surprise. Lead generation is the way in which we build a successful business. Successful to one person may look like 12 deals a year. One may look like 6, one may look like 100, right? There is no right or wrong, but bottom line, right? Yeah, Vinny, you can certainly pray to get more business, and I wish you the best of luck, right? It's like, which, by the way, it's a fun little story, just because I love Vinny's comments, but it's relevant. There's a little joke / story in which there's a man lost at sea, boat crashed. I don't know what you crash into in the ocean, but hey, boat is sinking, right? He's holding on to a piece of driftwood, and the Coast Guard comes by and says, "Sir, do you need some help?" And he's like, No, I'm all good. I'm in God's hands. God's gonna take care of me, right? So they're like, okay, bud, go off. Another fishing boat comes over, and the fishing boat is like, dude, what are you doing? You're in the water. Like, come on in. You need, there's sharks in there. You need to come out. And he's like, no, I have faith. God's going to take care of me. All is good. Well, the man inevitably drowns. And so he's at the pearly gates, and he ends up having a conversation with God and saying, God, what the heck? You were supposed to take care of me. Like, what happened? He's like, well, I sent 2 boats to get you. So it's like, WTF, God. John, love it, right? It's just like, but this is the reality, is that people that have a disconnect between what they know they could be doing, right? Which one? Odin, Vishnu? Okay, let's not go too down that path, right? It's a freaking joke, Thornburg, right? The power entity, right? The creator. He or she, the creator, whatever have you, right? But it's still something along those lines of saying that if you're finding that disconnect, instead of going into an insecure space and that negative self-talk, which ironically keeps you safe, right? Oh, I'm such a loser. Maybe I'm just not meant for this. Maybe I should just, get a full-time job. Maybe I should just do this. Before your mind starts going through that path, or as your mind starts going through that path, if at all, just consider that a human need is just not being met. And what would it look like if it was? And what options have you explored to fulfill those needs, right?
And find that lead generation method
That's it.
fits that.
That's it. Ironically, my lead generation, because again, I still receive referrals. How long has it been since I've been in production? I still receive referrals. Why? From teaching. There's still apparently some team up in Minnesota was like, hey, Steven, I saw your scripts online. I was like, one, who's posting my scripts? Thankfully, I had a little watermark at the bottom, but they reached out. And they were like, hey, we were wondering if you could do a speaking engagement. Same thing with another office. That's my lead generation. Well, guess what? I get agent-to-agent referrals from teaching. That's a great passionate source. Whenever I'm lead generating with the team, I'll be on the phones. That's what my favorite thing is to do, because it gives me that variety. It fulfills. So if you haven't found that passion yet, again, look online or read the book, whatever you want to do, to look at the 6 human needs and assess yourself and look at your activities and what lead generation techniques could you use to pick a lane that provides you the fulfillment that you all deserve. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I want to touch on the productivity killers that I've seen of individuals and teams. So I would encourage you to write these down. I'm going to give you the challenge, and then I'm going to give you the solution. Okay. Number 1 challenge is follow-up, or lack thereof, right? People make up BS excuses. Oh, I don't want to be overwhelming. Oh, I don't want to bother them. Get that crap out of your head. The reason why you're thinking that, okay, is because you live, breathe, and eat real estate every single day. Those other people don't. If they've expressed a need for real estate, your following up is no different than holding them accountable to accomplishing one of their greatest goals. If everybody saw follow-up in that light, rather than the self-deprecation of, oh, I don't want to bother them. Oh, I don't want to be overwhelming. Oh, I'm going to annoy them. No, you're not. They're not thinking about real estate as much as you are. If I were to be harping on any one of y'all about like, hey, did you do real estate today? Hey, I'm just following up to see if you did real estate today. Hey, did you do real estate? Did you do stuff in real estate? You're gonna be like, bugger off, Stephen. Yes.
Steven.
You know, because we live and breathe it. We think about real estate all the time. I can't walk by a house without being like, I wonder how much that would sell for. You know, call me nerdy, I've been called worse. But it's just like, this is something that we need to grasp and understand from a follow-up game standpoint. If a person raises their hand, all you're doing is keeping it top of mind. Is it annoying if I want to look at a Hawaii vacation and then my news feed, because, you know, Facebook and Siri love to stalk us apparently, where now all of a sudden I mention Hawaii, I guarantee you, I go on Facebook, I'm going to see all these like Maui vacations, all-inclusive packages, right? All these things. I'm not going to be annoyed. I'm going to be like, ooh. Right now, my newsfeed is saturated with furniture stuff because we're closing on a condo on Friday. Woo, 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 woo. So that's all I've been looking at online, right? So it's showing up. I'm not bothered by it. I'm not bothered by it because it's just keeping it top of mind. I'm not living and breathing furniture. I'm not living and breathing Hawaii vacation. So whenever I see that little prompter, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, right on, right? So that's the number one productivity killer is follow-up. The solution is if you didn't set the appointment in the first place, it will be an endless game of follow-up. So a stronger assertion of the importance of an appointment that will help you with your follow-up game. If in your initial conversation, a person expresses a need to move forward in real estate, set the appointment and practice your objection handling. Otherwise, you're going to continuously follow up and be like, hey, Joe, you said you wanted to sell your house at some point this year. Just following up to see when you wanted to chat about it. Hey, do you want to chat about it? Hey, do you want to chat about it? When do you want to chat? When can we meet? Mornings or afternoons? Hey, Joe, I'm just following up to see why are you avoiding me? Right? I should have set the appointment as soon as you said, yeah, I would consider selling. Set the appointment. Okay? That's the reason why we cover the objection handling. Productivity number 2. Endless showings. If you're showing more than 5 properties, you're doing a disservice to your clients. Right? Paul's like, preach, as you drink your protein shake, I'm assuming. Basically, what we're talking about here is that for the endless showings, is that if you're constantly going around showing more than 5 properties, it's because you don't know what they're looking for and they don't either. Your solution, 3 to 5 max, Paul, absolutely. Your solution to that is setting the expectation. I at least want to review this with y'all. I've done it before, but I want y'all to basically just write down the overview of how you wrap up in this type of situation. This is obviously catering to buyers, but even if you're a listing agent, you're going to pick up a buyer every so often, right? Or supplement with those buyers. The way to overcome the endless showings is by following the script. Try to act surprised. Following the script at the end of your buyer's presentation. Your buyer's presentation doesn't need to be any more complicated than essentially saying your intro. Paul, this is so exciting. So you want to buy a house. What's your intention for that purchase? That's how you open up the conversation. This is so exciting, Paul. I can't wait to be able to discuss this with you. So tell me what got you started for home search in the first place? There's a million different ways that you can intro that. Start it out. The 3 follow-up questions that you ask during the consultation. I know that there's a million different presentations out there in Command and whatnot, and mine is a piece of paper and a pen, and it's never failed me once. All I'm doing is saying, hey, so what has you motivated, right? Tell me what started the process. Okay, got it, take a note. And then saying, well, so 3 years from now, future page, 3 years from now when you're all settled in, all right, describe to me what the perfect house would look like, the perfect home would look like for you. Describe that perfect home. 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Got it. So the 3 bedrooms, let's talk about that. Why is that important? Tell me more about that. Why is that important? Tell me about that. How is that different from what you have now? The psychology. Hi, Sal. The psychology behind that, right, is that if you're talking about why is that important, they're internalizing the concept of something that is superficial to give context to it, right? So why is that important? Tell me more about that, gets them thinking more about it, right? Great job. Gets them thinking more about it. So they may discover more. And then by ending that little segment with, and how is that different from what you have now, creates the dissonance. Dissonance, again, is that physiological feeling that you get between what you want and what you have. That gap gives that uncomfortable feeling. When a person is uncomfortable, they naturally seek a solution. Guess who's in front of them when they're seeking solutions? Do you get that? I've had some people push back, Stephen, that's really redundant. Why would we ask those questions? I'm like, just do it. Just do it. Get their motivation. Tell me more about that. How is that different from what you have now? You go through the gauntlet. Okay, 3 bedrooms. Tell me, 3 bedrooms. Why 3 bedrooms? Got it. And so tell me more about that. Anything else about having that additional bedroom? Got it. Oh, okay, well, how's that different from what you have now? Interesting. Okay, so what else would you be wanting in that dream home of yours? Okay, vaulted ceilings. Tell me more about that. Why is that important? Okay, got it. Well, how's that different from what you have now? Oh, closed space. Got it. So you want that open and air feel? Nice, nice. Okay, so what else are you looking for? That's all you do. You go through the gauntlet, okay, with those 3 questions. Then you summarize it. Okay, this is the next part. You have your intro, which is getting them to the motivation of what's the purchase, the clarity, your list of, hey, tell me about that. Why is that important? Tell me more about that. How is that different from what you have now? Then at the very end of that, the third part is where you summarize. So Raquel, is this an all-encompassing list of everything you could ever want in a property? Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, excellent. So you're not going to send anything from Zillow or online that's not 100% matched to this, right? Say it tongue-in-cheek. Be lighthearted about that statement, but it sets the expectation internally. Because if you're saying basically, here's the list of everything you could want in your dream home, got it. So you're not going to send me any kind of variant. Another way to do it, one of my agents, Val, does it so well. I love the way that she does it. So instead of saying, so you're not going to send me anything that doesn't match this list, she basically, her variant is, so if you send me something from Zillow that's not necessarily on this list, would you be offended if I were to reference this list and just kind of cross-check what you're wanting to look at against this? Would you be offended if I brought you back to this? They're like, no, absolutely, no, we're not going to send you anything that's outside this list, right? So that's her way of doing it, okay? Then at that point, basically what you're doing is you set the expectation, okay? You clarify, so it's an all-encompassing list, so you're not going to send me anything that's not going to be a perfect match for this list? Okay, got it. So, and this is so important, here's what you can expect next. That is the sexiest thing that you can ever tell an SC personality or even a D personality, ironically. Here's what you can expect next, right? Here's what you can expect next, Karine. we're going to see a total of 5 properties, all of which are going to be a 100% match to what you're looking for. So that way you only have to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, can you see yourself living here? And 2, how much you would like to offer to make this house your home. So here's what you can expect next, John. We're going to see a total of 5 properties, all of which are going to be on 100% match to what you're looking for. So that way, when we look at them, you only have to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, can you see yourself living here? And 2, how much would you like to offer to make this house your home? Simple enough, right? They're
That's
going to
good
push.
because you're setting the expectation, you're telling them what's going to, and this is probably the only instance when you can tell them something versus ask them, right? That you encourage us to ask questions, but this
Yep.
time we're telling them, you know, because it's an expectation, it's something that they can, especially if they're an SC or if certainty is one of their needs, you know, they know what to expect. They know what you're expecting of them as well as what they're expecting from the process.
Nailed it, Kareem. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you're going to just expect an objection handler. All right. In which people are going to be like, wait, why only 5? That's where you bring in the questions, right? Andrea, I appreciate that you want to see more. And is that because there's a concern of missing out?
Yeah.
Right. No, I totally understand that. So now let's pause here real quick. Again, psychologically speaking, because I promised y'all that I'm going to go through the 5 productivity killers. I'm going to give y'all some of these scripting nuggets to make sure that you're protecting yourselves. Okay, so at the end of your buyer's consult, right? Tell me what has you motivated to make this purchase. Got it. Okay, let's go through here. What's important about that? Tell me more about that. How's that different from what you have now? Got it. Is this an all-encompassing list of everything you could ever want in a property? Beautiful. Okay, so you're not going to send me anything that's not a perfect match for this, right? Okay,
Well,
excellent.
Steven, slow down. You're talking so fast.
No, I'm recapping
Oh,
what we've
okay,
already
yeah.
covered. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
just kind of
All
recapping
right.
up to this point, right?
All right, thank you.
So then we go into, so here's what you can expect next. We're going to see a total of 5 properties, all of which are 100% matched to what you're looking for. So that way you can only ask yourself 2 questions. 1, can you see yourself living here? And 2, how much you would like to offer to make this house your home? They're going to object, likely. Well, why only 5? You reframe it to, I get that you want to see more properties. Is that because you're concerned about missing out? You reframe it because when they agree, well, yeah, I'm afraid of missing out, you then accommodate the scripting right after that to basically let them know that seeing more properties will have them miss out. Does that make sense? I'll say it again. When you ask when you reframe it, shifting their focus for, I want to see more properties than 5. And you're assuring them and saying, is that because you're afraid of missing out? You're going to say, yeah. That's the reason why I want to see more. That's the reason why I want to see more. Your objection handling, once they've agreed that their concern is missing out, you put your thumb in their eye through scripting about missing out. So now what we do is we have them self-discover that seeing more than 5 properties will have them miss out. And here's how we do that, right? So, you know, Ida, I appreciate that you want to see more than 5 properties, right? And is that because you have a concern about missing out? Got it. No, I totally respect that, Ida. So let me ask you something. Let's say that we see the first 5, okay? And you fall in love with house number 4. But just for peace of mind, you want to go see house 6, 7, 8. Do you think, is it possible? It's another very powerful scripting. Is it possible, Ida, that someone else fell in love with property number 4 as well before us? And if they fell in love with that property while we're looking at others, what do you think is possible? Do you think that it's possible that they'd already make an offer on it? So if someone else offers a home that you fell in love with, makes an offer on the home that you fell in love with, how fair is it that anything we see after that is just second choice? John?
Can we make a few different offers at once? I had a friend who just purchased and their agent put out 4 offers for them at once. And that's kind of what I want to do.
You know, so it's something that, let's put it this way. Before this type of market, I would go up on stage and I would say, if you do that, you're a slutty agent, right? And that's just because for me, I value relationships and my reputation very strongly in this industry, right? I'm hard pressed to find anybody that would say, even if we're not working together, they'd say, he's an upstanding guy, right? Because in this business, your reputation is everything. So I used to say, do 1 offer at a time and do an expiration on each one of those offers. If a person wanted to make multiple offers, I would give an expiration for either end of day or 24 hours and make it systematic. That was before. Now, because of how quickly things are moving, I don't like it, but I'm no longer judgmental of the agents that will make multiple offers for their clients. I still don't like it, but that's going to have to be a judgment call on your end, right? Because it's a kind of a best and worst case situation simultaneously. I put out 4 offers and I get 3 accepted. That means I'm going to have to flake on 2.
Question.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to set up expectations with your client to have them be decisive on just one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to John's credit, there are still those people that will want to be like, I would be happy in property 2, 3, 4. You know, let's make an offer on each one of those and see which one gets accepted.
One
Right.
of the problems I see with it though, and I tell clients like I'm comfortable making a max of 2 at a time. I don't even like doing that. Let's see 1 through for at least 24 to 48 hours and get a feel for how it's looking before we make another one. But I had an agent help me while I was out of town a while ago in our office. She did a great job, got my client into escrow, but she had 3 offers out at once. And 1 got accepted and it was his second choice. So it got accepted and he goes, well, hold on. I haven't heard back on my first choice yet. And then it just turns into, it can get really messy that way.
Yeah.
So ended up all working out, but that's the thing that you kind of have to let clients know is like, if you're going to do that, you have to have the right discussion with them of like, look, one of these we're going to get a response on one of these before the other. And if your third choice gets accepted, the only way I want to do this for you to not make it too complicated for you is if your third choice gets accepted, I want you to let me know right now that you're 100% happy with that and we're ready to move forward.
I like that.
If the answer is no, then we should not be making multiple offers at once.
John,
Thank you, John.
love
That's
that.
great.
Can you say that again? Can you say
Yeah.
that again? Just because this is super important.
So clients that want to make a few offers at once, I just let them know that, every response time on offer is going to be different. And if we end up, what I want to know before we move forward with this is if we happen to get a positive response, meaning an acceptance on your second or third choice property, before we ever hear back on your first, are you ready to be full steam ahead with this property and completely disregard the others? If the answer is yes, then let's do it. If the answer is no, then we shouldn't be making multiple offers.
I like that. I like that a lot. And so, Andrew, I just saw your comment in the chat box. Just so y'all know, we are YouTube live, so this one you can always go back to this session, right? So just like John is saying, is that it's just about setting the expectation.
100%.
Right? Yeah, it's just about setting that expectation because again, you never want a client to feel like you're taking something away.
No.
Ever. So that's the reason. Yeah, Andrea?
It just seems to me like if you're going to stretch yourself so thin by, as the agent making all these offers with your client, isn't it going to make you psychotic?
It's in that type of situation. Here's the thing. Our jobs are to, 1, set parameters for our clients, and ultimately make sure that they're happy with whatever decision they're making, right? I don't think that it would drive you nuts necessarily, as long as you understand the rationale between whatever you're going to do, right? So it's not so much about like it'll drive you insane, because again, like one standpoint is, you know, putting out the offers and whatnot. It's about them. Well, shoot, yeah, John just said that, right? When you set your boundaries, right, it's about their needs. It's not about us. So if a person is like, okay, adamant with wanting to write multiple offers on different properties, use that script that John uses. Okay.
And you don't have, you can say no to a client, but just know that if you say no and they decide they want to end their working relationship with you, and if I think my thought is if they want to end it over that, then they probably weren't a great client to begin with. But I mean, you can say no, just know that, you know, if you won't do it, then someone else will. So you kind of have to find that medium between understanding like, look, we saw 5 places today. You want to write 5 offers, and like, this is what concerns me about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you honestly tell me that if your 5th choice property gets accepted first, you're ready to move forward with that one and you'll disregard the others?
Very good.
I haven't been,
No.
John, I haven't been working with a lot of buyers lately. I kind of steered clear, but now that I see the market's kind of turning, I'm kind of open to that now.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you is, are you getting this request a lot? Or, because my experience has been people didn't even realize that was an option. Are people coming out of the gate
I'd say-
like just saying, hey, we want to do this?
Well, no, not out the gate, but like if we see a few when we're out, some people like just say like, I like both of them. I want to write an offer on both of them, but I'd probably say 1 out of 5 buyers.
Yeah.
Not
Not terribly.
it's not every buyer, but I mean, it definitely happens, especially in this market when they see how things are going, and then they hear what their friends have done. You hear that all the time. And
Mhm.
so it's just a matter of deciding and you always have to spin it about what's best. Like, even if you're like, I don't want to write 5 offers, like that's like ridiculous waste of my time. And you always got to spin it to being like, I don't want to spend your time doing that, because it's never talk about your time.
No.
Never talk about, I mean, you set the
time?
expectations up front that like, look, this is how I work, but you never talk about, look, I don't want to waste my time writing 5 offers. No. I don't want to waste your time writing 5 offers, no matter, even if it's all about your time. You just don't.
Yeah.
Well,
No. Yeah. So good point. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Joe, I agree with John on that 100%, is that out of each one of my agents are working with 8 to 10 A clients. And out of those 8 to 10 A clients, meaning that these people are writing offers, I think Jason, Val, and Matt have only done that for maybe 2 out of the 8 to 10, maybe, right? So it's like when you're going through that, just be aware that it's happening. But again, reference this in case we missed it, or in case we weren't taking notes. Reference this. Go back to the recording on YouTube and just skip to basically about 30 minutes in, and we'll be able to recover this, right? So 30 minutes in, you hit the 9 o'clock mark.
And I think John's way also, may I say something? I think John's way also digs deeper into the client's motivation, because if you make this clear to them that you're expecting them to, if they get their 3rd favorite, that they're going to act upon it, that gives a little insight on their motivation too, because maybe they need to move, and all 3 are pretty much in alignment of what they want. And so do you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're getting an insight onto, yes, they're in and they need to move, and any of the 3, even if it's the 3rd favorite, would do, and it would be great and for their family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you kind of get a little bit
asking them if they're ready to move forward with the first one that they get a response to, allows them to make the decision as to whether or not this is the right move.
Yeah.
You're not telling them, look, no, don't do this, because it's like, hey, if the answer to this is yes, let's move forward. But if the answer to this is no, what do you think we should do?
Yep, there you
It
go.
allows them to see
Yeah.
their main motivation too. Like, are we really that serious about buying right now? So,
That's
Yeah,
it.
or are you
Yeah.
just trying to get an offer accepted on something?
Pretty
right.
much, yeah. And look at it from that perspective. John just brought up a good point again, right? Which is basically if you're kind of letting them know, like, are we just writing offers to make, are we coming from scarcity here? Is really what it's coming down to. And when they see that, they're like, oh, like he's, John, he or she, my agent is actually protecting my best interest, right? So and here's another pro tip. It's such an important script that I encourage you, and this is going to lead me into the next one, right? Jump and run. This is the third productivity killer. Jump and run. What I mean by that is you get a person on the phone from a listing side, you get a person on the phone that, let's just say that you're following the script, right? Hey, Paul, this is Stephen with Keller Williams. I'm just calling about your property on 123 Main Street. Do you have a moment? Yeah, what's going on? Well, I've got these buyers that are desperate to move into your area, and they wanted me to reach out to you to ask how much would they need to offer for you to consider selling? I'm not selling. I know you're not selling, but how much would it take for you to at least consider? Told you I'm not selling. Hey, fair enough. Well, a lot of people are surprised to realize that they've gained more equity since COVID than the 3 years prior. Do you have any curiosity to know how much equity you've gained? You offer a CMA, right? So let's just say, for an example, you offer that CMA and you get a person to say, okay, yeah, sure, couldn't hurt. And let's say that you go for the appointment, right? And you go for that appointment and you say, well, Kevin, so I'm more than happy to draft this up. Let me work on this comparative market analysis for you today. And I can have that delivered to you tomorrow. Let me ask you something. Would you be opposed to us getting together and talking a little bit more about this? Careful on knowing the difference for listing agents in here. Careful on knowing the difference between a listing appointment and a preview. There is a difference. There's a difference between a listing appointment and a preview. Because if you're basically telling, me or your coach or, your accountability partner, hey, I went on, 3 listing appointments, and you're not getting those listing appointments because they're not really listing appointment. It's a person saying, yeah, come check out my house to know how much it's worth, but I don't want to sell, right? And so then why are you going, right? Offer the value, offer the information, but protect your time, because the more time that you're going out and throwing a Hail Mary and hoping that they're going to list with you, when they either say that they don't have a need, or more importantly, they don't know where they would go, that is a preview. Am I clear? If you're going on a listing appointment, and the person does not know where they would move to next, and you ask them simple questions, which is one, if you received an offer in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? So let's just say that you offer the CMA and you basically say, so John, so if that number just totally blows your hair back and you got an offer at that price, let me ask you something. I mean, where would you go to next? So that's an important question, number one. So if you see that number on there and it totally blows your hair back and you got an offer in the next 30 days, where would you go to next? Or if you got an offer with that number that blows your hair back, would that pose a problem for you? If you got an offer that complemented that number, if not over, would that pose a problem for you? If you ask those 2 questions and they either don't know where they would go, or they say, no, I wouldn't accept any kind of offer, do not go to that preview. You can if you have the time. If you've done your lead generation, I'm wagging my finger now. It's gotten to that point. I'm wagging my finger. If you go, make sure you have the time, but don't delusion yourself and be like, I went on a listing appointment. Nope, that's a preview, because they have no motivation. All right. That's the jump and run for listing. For buyers, the jump, I know, don't you whack your finger at me. Sorry, Corinne, my bad. So I'll just look very stern. So like, if you're looking at it from a buyer standpoint, a jump and run is, Kevin, I saw this property online. I want to go see it. And you're like, okay. And you just go and you show that property. This is very common in addition to listing agents with people that are, yeah. I'm just reading the comments here. Thank you, Andrea. So it's like basically, when you get sign calls, okay? When you get sign calls and someone's like, hey, I want to go see this property, and you have not met with this person before, and you say, sure, I'll meet you at the property at 123 Main Street at 4 o'clock today. Don't do that. Here's what you do instead. Absolutely, Kevin. I'm so excited to show you this property. Let me schedule some times for you today. And just let me ask you something. You know, I can look at a 4 o'clock showing for you today, and I'm wondering, would you be opposed to meeting about 30 minutes beforehand? We can meet at 3:30 over at Starbucks. I want to look at some off-market properties and present that to you, and seeing if we can maybe accomplish some more showings in addition to this one. Would that be okay with you? So again, I'd love to show you this property at 4 o'clock today. Would you be opposed though that I want to do some digging on some off-market properties in that area, and maybe even see what else is available in the area that would match your criteria? Would you be opposed to us meeting just 30 minutes beforehand at a Starbucks, just so we can go over that information and then pop over to the showing right after? When you set that expectation, it's the best use of your time. So pro tip, go to MyPlusLeads, go to myplusleads.com, log in. Remember, the login is Stephenjack@kw.com. The password is, I'm not going to share it because we are YouTube live. So anybody that's not with our brokerage, sorry about you, but we offer this as a free service. Hey, here's a shameless pitch. Join us today. So if you have any questions about the password, it's very simple. Nod, nod, wink, wink. There's your hint. Make sure to hit me up, let me know, and I'll share the username and password with you. Okay. You go to MyPlusLeads and you specifically look at either FSBO expireds. Okay. You set a date range, you map it out, and you do a screenshot of that, and that'll show probably 3 or 4 properties that are off market because they're an expired or a FSBO in that area. You want to have that information present because now you're basically showing your value. You guys are so much more than a pretty face with a key in your hand, right? Do not do the jump and run. If a person is unable or unwilling to meet with you beforehand, do not go for that showing. Am I clear? Because they're not committed to you, right? Yeah, Andrea, you're right. You should have a conversation about the motivation first. Yes, and that's the whole point of having the consult, right? 30 minutes before the jump and run. Again, there's a difference between you having the consult and a person being like, I saw this property, I want to go see it. Awesome, cool, let's get this, right? If you've had the consult. If you've had the consult. If this is a brand new person that you have not had a consult with, or someone that you've been chasing down, and then they randomly send you a property, I want to go see this today at 4. Excellent, yes, absolutely. Let me check with the listing agent. Let me make sure that we can go see that property today at 4. And hey, real quick, to be prepared for our showing, you know, I'd be honored to actually share some off-market property information with you in that same area. So would you be opposed to meeting just 30 minutes beforehand at a Starbucks so I can present that information to you, just to make sure that we're utilizing your time the best way? More often than not, they're going to say, yeah, that's fine. Or, ooh, we can't do that. Well, what if we were to meet at 4 and I can schedule a showing for 4:30? Would that work? Right? You accommodate, but you still set the standard. Never to show, jump and run. Listing agents, or for a listing, know the difference between a listing appointment and a preview. The way to validate it, or the way to confirm which is which on listings, is by asking one of 2 questions. Actually, one of 3 questions. Absolutely would be honored to come out and meet you at your property. And if what I say makes sense, and you feel comfortable and confident with the information I give you, are you willing to move forward, and would you list with me today? That's that's the Mike Ferry version. Not opposed to it. It's an older script, but it's still relevant, right? absolutely, you know, Rob, I can't wait to meet you over at your property today at 5. And I just want to clarify that if, you know, the information that I present to you makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident with it, would you be willing to list with me today? No, 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 no. I just want the valuation on my home. No, 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 no. I don't plan on moving, right? You don't go. You share information virtually. Okay, save your time. Or you can ask and just saying, absolutely, more than happy to. And I'm just wondering, right? If with the information that I share with you, if someone made an offer on your property in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? Absolutely, no, 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 no. I can't make a move until 2 years from now. I just want information to gather, right? Or you're to say, okay, fantastic. Well, so tell me, you know, if you happen to get an offer that just blew your hair back, where would you go to next? Oh, no, no, I'm not planning on relocating, or, oh, I have no idea. I don't know where I would go. You can, if you have time, go, but just know that it's a preview and not a listing appointment. And that's your choice. Make sure that it's not robbing your productivity. Make sure you've done your job, which is lead generation and lead follow-up. Make sure that's done first. Okay. For buyers, again, you set the expectation that we meet 30 minutes before that showing request. Okay. And that's where you get their motivation, understanding what they're looking for, clarifying questions. So Andrea, what has you drawn to this neighborhood? Is it more of the lifestyle of the neighborhood? Is it more so, economical because it matches your budget? Right. Tell me.
Houses here are pretty.
Yeah, absolutely they are, right? And so tell me, so, having a pretty property, why is that important to you? Tell me more about that. How is that different from what you have now? You get it? You see the patterns?
Hey, Stephen, do you think there's a danger in providing a price opinion, in that if they don't know you, there is always that possibility, and call me jaded, that they are basically shopping you against other people that are also giving them numbers. And you're almost encouraging them in some ways to go with the guy who gives them the highest number, even if that other guy does not know what he's doing, or is maybe being hyper aggressive and not realistic. How would you respond to that? Is that, am I just being paranoid, or do you think there's some?
That's legit, Joe. That's legit. It's the reason why that there are certain safety precautions that you want to put in place, right? When a person says, what's your commission? They're shopping, and you say it's negotiable based on your needs. That is your knee-jerk reaction. Whenever a person says, so how much do you charge for commission? It's negotiable based on your needs. Whoa, what do you mean by that? Well, let's just get together and we can talk it through. I want to make sure to get an understanding of what you're looking to accomplish, and I can modify my commission accordingly. Well, can't you give me a range? Yeah, it ranges between 1% and 7%. Well, can you make it more specific? I'd be happy to. When would be a good time for me to swing by? See what I'm saying? Right?
So hold on, say that again. Say that again. It's negotiable and it's based on your needs. What's the second part?
The second part is if they push back and saying, well, can't you give me a range? So sure, it ranges from 1% to 7%.
1% though, Stephen?
Yeah. Yeah.
What minimal needs did they have to get a 1%?
An open listing agreement in which they want to be slutty and they want to work with multiple agents, and I will only get compensated if I bring a buyer, but then I'm going to offer 1% to negotiate basically you're representing yourself as a seller, but for 1% more, I'll do the paperwork for you.
Oh, very good.
Done a couple deals actually that way, to where specifically FSBOs. This is most appropriate to FSBOs, right? Where a person, if you're making your cold calls, hey, got buyers interested in your property, before I bring them by, I just wanted to know, are you willing to pay a co-op, agent? Yep, 2%, it's 2.5%. Got it, excellent, that's fair. Okay, and then you build rapport, blah, 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 and then you say, hey, so, quick question here is that, would you be opposed that I'm more than happy to bring a buyer, and if I am, just to kind of take some of the liability off of you, for 1% more, I'm more than happy to do the paperwork for you. So you're not getting into kind of any legal challenges and whatnot. I take on that liability would that 1% give you the additional assurance that this is being taken care of? Would that 1% give you additional insurance that this is taken care of, right? So that there are circumstances in which you do a 1%, right? If you're not putting it on the market, if you're not negotiating, if you're not marketing it, if you're not doing all these additional things, sure, I'll take 1% in addition to my buyer's compensation, right? And then it tiers up based on what they're wanting, right? But based on the listing presentation, when they're able to see the value that you bring, they know that you'll be able to command a higher commission. There's a reason why Mike Drew, when he was presenting on the 7% listing presentation, right? People are willing to pay more to get more. It's about an investment, right? So Joe, with what he's talking about is that if they're price shopping you, be prepared that if a person's like, well, Joe, you're telling me that, my property is worth 900, but this inexperienced agent over here is telling me that they'll sell it for $1 million. Here's your knee-jerk reaction. Excellent. Did they say that they're willing to buy it at that price if they can't sell it at that price? Are they willing to, did they say that they would buy it at that price? This is Chris Heller's objection, actually, by the way. Great, I respect that agent is telling you that they can get you that. Did they offer to buy your property at that price point? Well, no. Would you? Well, here's the difference. If they didn't do that, then how confident are they in their ability to actually sell it for that price? So are they telling you what you want to hear or what you need to hear? Those are very good questions to ask to get them to start to second guess, saying, look, would it be helpful if I shared some context behind this price so you can make an informed decision? Would it be helpful if we were to go in and I can give you some background to this information so you can make an informed decision? Sheila, I love that. You want good, better, or best, right?
Oh, great. Okay, please repeat that. You said this before, but I'm writing it down. Great, I respect that. Is the other agent willing to buy the home at that price?
Yep, I respect that. Is that other agent, did the other agent say that they would purchase your property at that price if they can't sell it for that? Their answer is no, right? I respect that, Joe, that this other agent's telling you $1 million. Did they say that they would be willing to buy it at that price if they can't sell it at $1 million? Well, no. Okay. So then how confident do you think they are in their ability to actually sell it for that price?
Well, they're not in the market to buy my home, so they're just telling me I can get more.
That's what I was gonna say, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not buying my home.
Yeah, they're not in the market to buy my home. They just told me they could get me more. So
fair enough.
And I would say,
so it sounds like you're wanting to net the most amount from the sale of your property, right?
right.
Yeah. So what if we were to do this? What if we were to get together? I can give you the background behind this number in regards to not saying that this is what it's going to sell for. I'm saying that this is what we're going to market it for. There's a difference. Would it be helpful if we clarified that in our meeting?
Sure.
Excellent. Then you go into the auction analogy. Then you go into all these different things. Do you want people to bid you up, bid you down, right?
That's good. But this is what we're going to market it for, not what we would sell it for. That's a good, yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to rush through the last two here, but here's the reason why I'm sharing it. Moving forward, what I want to be able to do with y'all is break each one of these down and give you specific scripts, okay? To make sure that you're inoculating yourself against these 5 productivity killers. Okay, so I'm kind of setting the stage. Beforehand, it was generic scripting, objection handling, all right? Then it was mindset, talking about motivation, the importance of asking questions, neuroplasticity. Now I'm going back to the productivity killers, which is going to tie in the scripts, okay? So I'm just kind of casting the vision for all of the SC personalities that are being like, Steven, you're varying it too much. Here's what y'all can expect next. We're sharing these today. So these are going to be the scripting setups for the next probably couple weeks, to be honest, right? So the fourth one are flaky people, flaky buyers, more specifically. I will make this as clear as I can. You will not work with a buyer unless you have a BRE. Am I clear? You will not work with a buyer unless you have a BRE. Your script is easy for this. After the consultation, let's go back to when I was saying, here's the buyer's presentation. We're going to see a total of 5 different properties, all of which are going to be 100% matched to what you're looking for. So that way you only have to ask yourself 2 questions, right? Once we get their agreement on that, you slide in the BRE. Here's your script. So what we have here is an agreement that states, when we find you that dream home, I'll represent you for that transaction. Sounds good? So what we have here is an agreement that simply states that when we find you that dream home, I'll represent you for that transaction. Sounds good? So what we have here is an agreement that simply states, when we find you that dream home, I'll represent you for that transaction. Sounds good? So what we have here is an agreement that says that when we find you that dream home, I'll represent you for that transaction. Sounds good? That's what you do. If a person's unable or unwilling to sign after you do the objection handler, you move away. Say, I respect your decision in order to provide you the most value, including off-market properties. Due to clear cooperation policy, this agreement is necessary to provide you the most value. I respect that you don't want to sign this, but in order to provide you with the most value, including off-market properties, due to clear cooperation policy, this is a necessary document to make sure to provide you the most value. So if you're not comfortable with that, I do respect it. If I'm not able to provide my most value, I'm not comfortable moving forward. And I wish you the best of luck in your search. Bye. You do not work with buyers that are unwilling to sign a BRE. Okay. The last
So-
one is the,
Sorry, can you repeat the last part again? I respect your decision, but in order to provide you the most value, including off-market properties.
Mhm.
What was the
Yeah.
last part?
I kind of default to the due to clear cooperation policy, right? So it's kind of like due to the clear cooperation policy. If we're unable to, oh shoot, let me go back here. All right, so I respect your decision, but in order to provide you the most value, including sending you off market properties, this agreement is necessary due to the clear cooperation policy to provide you the most value. And if a person basically still doesn't want to, well, nobody else is asking me to sign this. Well, no, I've never signed one of those before. I respect that. You know, if you're, I respect that you're not comfortable signing this. If I'm unable to provide you the most value, I'm not comfortable in moving forward. I wish you the best of luck in your search. If I'm unable to provide you the most value, if I can't provide you the most value, I'm not comfortable moving forward. This is the one time that you make it about yourself, right? Because you're teaching people how to treat you.
Yep.
You're basically saying, look, Rob, you know, I appreciate that, man. If I can't provide you the most value, I'm not comfortable in moving forward. And I wish you the best of luck in your search.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, yeah, also without this, with the BRE, I'm essentially working for the seller and not you.
Right? You know, without that, it's kind of like, isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
So, and then the last one here, and then I got to pop off here, and so do y'all, is the in-house consult. You always want to do the consultations. I know that because of COVID, we had to do things virtual and it got really easy to do that. Go back to the in-house consultations if you are comfortable doing so. You have a stronger conversion ratio to be able to sit face to face, you know, belly to belly with a person. You have a better conversion ratio when you can look them in the eye and not just through Zoom. You'd be surprised, we actually started switching to only doing in-house consultations. People ironically are more comfortable than I expected. And our conversions for the BREs have dramatically increased. And I mean, obviously, and then for a person that's wanting to know information about their property, you obviously, for a listing presentation, you want to do it at their property with the in-house consults. Not doing so reduces. There's also scripts to talk about and encouraging the in-house. All right. So was this helpful to start out by talking about understanding our 6 human needs and dictating which lanes we go in, and then talking about the productivity killers with some objection handling to make sure that you're sticking to your lane? Is this helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I
I feel
appreciate
bad for
y'all.
other brokerages.
Sorry.
Nope. So it's just like, so make sure that in case you want to rewatch this, it is YouTube live. So go back to YouTube, check it out. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you,
See ya.
Stephen.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Hey, great
Bye.
work,
Have a great
great
weekend.
work, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you.